Disclaimer, this is the final video I will be posting about SMP Earth. I feel it's time to move on and I won't be responding anymore other than the comments. Without further ado, I hope you enjoy. So it's been a week since I've posted my SMP Earth public a lesson in failure video, and I'm gonna be 100% honest. After I posted the video, I kinda completely forgot about SMP Earth until a bit ago. I've been pretty busy, so sorry for anyone that was waiting. I expected the video to do horribly, but it actually did pretty good. I expected like 0 likes to 100 dislikes and not 40 likes to 16 dislikes. So that's pretty nice. And it was kind of funny seeing people try to dislike bot my video and their dislikes getting removed like a minute later. Alright, so let me start off by saying I'm human and I made mistakes. There were some mistakes with the video that I plan on correcting in this video, along with responding to some comments from the video. So let's start off with some of the comments. Most of the comments were people trying to find any reason to say I'm wrong, but there were other comments too. So one of the most liked comments was Spanners, who is a dev on SMP Earth, and who talked about some of the mistakes in the video. I think there was a lot of misunderstandings with this, so I'll go through this comment and say what I really meant. So his first point is that the server was never 1 GB. I said in my video that the server was 1 GB, and this was due to the previous owner Josh stating that. I think this was more me screwing up on my words, and I didn't specify 1 GB in what. It was 1 GB in port speed, which was probably what contributed to SMP Earth's initial lag. His second point was that I used someone named Caden as a point, even though he wasn't a staff member. I looked through the video and the only instance I saw of Caden was during the plugin portion, in which the staff wouldn't tell me what plugin they were using. I should have probably took out the other people in the screenshot because I wanted people to focus more on the screenshot after the initial one, with the staff member Brooke saying they aren't releasing plugins. I know that Caden wasn't staff. I was more talking about Brooke when I said staff would say they weren't allowed to release plugins. His third point was that they have stated that world downloading was bannable before, and this is something I need to discuss because the whole world download situation was confusing in general. Many people asked me why I included it in the video because the situation was pointless. The staff tried banning him for an unfair advantage but made another rule because he wouldn't listen. This was kind of a mistake on my part. Holtis also goes on to say that the world download situation wasn't worth putting in the video. I understand where he was coming from, as it's now clear to me how the staff explained to CT Tapper what he did using a world download created an unfair advantage and broke the server rules even at the time of his ban. I added it to the video in order to show both sides, including C-Tapper's frustration with the lack of clarity in the rules in his opinion. Next, Spanner said that the part during the test server was a mistake, which was what I said in the video, and I said that it's most likely a mistake and can be overlooked. Then his next point is that the person who did TP all got fired. The person in question was King Gaming, who was indeed fired but rehired after. His next point is that monopolies are bad for gameplay. I completely agree with this, and in the video I said I agree with this, and volcanoes should have been unclaimable from the start. But yeah, that's exactly what I said, they should have been unclaimable from the start. Because then it was too late to unclaim them unless the people who claimed them got some sort of compensation. He then says that the people involved with the TPL incident were reprimanded, and I will take his word for that. Next thing he says is they in fact do take a while for bans because they're thoroughly looking into it, as I said in the video. His next point is that he says there's not much he can do about DDoSing, and I never said there was something they could do about DDoSing, I just said it added to the lag. Then he ends his comment by saying that the video is trying to make SMP Earth look really bad and they're just trying to have a friendly community. Again, the whole point of my video was to help improve SMP Earth through criticism, and I feel I did that because many things changed after I posted the video. I did state that I wasn't making the video just to shit on the server, and I showed situations that accurately reflected SMP Earth. The only problem I really had with Spanner's comment is that he was trying to use points that I really didn't make in the video as points against me, I guess. But I never really used these points or arguments in the video. But I think there was a lot of misunderstanding with some of the portions of the video, so I completely understand why he would think some of these things. So let's move on to the next comment, and this comment's from John P, or better known as Holtis, and an ex-admin of SMP Earth. So basically, Holtis says here there were accusations thrown around in the video which weren't true. He's referring to when I talked about Holtis and King Gaming abusing in items. I clearly said I can't prove this and can only go off words, so take this as you may. And this basically indicated that I even thought this was false, so choose if you want to believe it or not. It was my mistake of not checking with Holtis or King Gaming after hearing about it. The rumor stemmed from the first few days of release when inside jokes were made using in-game items that were later removed. Holtis then goes on to say that the world download situation wasn't worth putting in the video, and I agree, and as I said before, I was just trying to show both sides. Next comment is from Platypus, and so basically in this comment he basically says he disagrees with the statement no one wants to play with the server. I need to explain this. So basically, when I finished editing the video and stuff, the boost to the server from Zyphon's video hadn't hit yet, and I'm pretty sure the video was already posted, but they didn't get a boost in player count just yet. During that time, the server only had 20 players on with an average of 3 TPS, making it impossible to do anything. But after the player boost, there was like around 50 to 70 people on the daily. The TPS had gotten better, but still average like kind of low. This comment is one of the more sensible ones because he saw that the player count was different from what I said in the video, so I like this comment. It's nice, polite, and fixes one of the problems in my video. Alright, let's go into one of the more emotionally driven comments. And this comment is by that guy you know. So basically, he restates the whole volcano incident and says that Damon Ignis TP'd him in even though it wasn't him, and he even exposes them for glitching into the spawner room, which abusing glitches is bannable, by the way. So apparently volcanoes weren't allowed to be claimed on the faction server. By the way, I need to talk about the faction server in a bit later, but just know there was a faction server on SMP Earth, and Townie wasn't the only server. So yeah, there was a faction server, and basically the players thought the same rule went for Townie as well, even though there was no rules stated like that. He then defends the staff's actions by saying they were fresh additions to the team, which 1, King Gaming was not new to the team, he had been rehired, and 2, this wasn't his first problem. He then goes on to say stuff which I agree with, like when he says it's not the worst server but isn't the best either. I said the worst SMP server in my other video to put more impact, so that's on me. And then he goes on to say it can't be as perfect as Hypixel, which I say Hypixel is pretty bad as well. Don't get me wrong, their games are fantastic, but their staff and anti-cheat are almost as flawed as SMP Earth's. Then it starts getting worse, as he says not all servers can be what I want it to be, even though all I said in the video was to improve your staff, so if you can't improve your staff or fix your own rules, then those people shouldn't be staff at all. But then here's when I realized this guy doesn't really care about the video and just hates the idea of criticism towards the server. Because next he says, if you can't accept that, then you can fuck off, your opinion doesn't matter, all this video spreads is bad news about an amazing server that I've been playing on since day one. The lag and toxicity of factions, the mediocre staff team, even the volcano incident. It's what makes SMP Earth SMP Earth, so if you can't accept that what you want isn't what they want, fuck off, play Fortnite or some shit. So they're basically saying, you're criticizing something I like, so your opinion is invalid. This is when I realized this guy is speaking emotionally rather than logically, and I get if you want to defend something you like, but blatantly ignoring problems that can be solved is being ignorant. He says that the video spreads bad news even though the purpose of the video was to find solutions, then he lists out some of the problems and said that's just part of SMP Earth and you can't change that. If horrible staff and horrible rules is part of SMP Earth, then no one would play. But luckily for this guy, people are actively trying to improve the server, which I will get to in a bit later. Alright, so those are some of the comments I just want to highlight. I might talk about others in a bit, but first I want to talk about some other things that happened. So right after the video, SquireX DM'd me and said Ethan, one of the managers of SMP Earth, had DM'd her and they had seen the video and wanted to ask her questions about it. I was pretty happy because this meant most of the staff team watched the video, which was the main goal of the video. Not long after, a lot of staff members and ex-staff members DM'd me. Then on the video I saw a comment by King Gaming which was deleted later, so I DM'd him. You see, one of the mistakes in my video is that I went in on King Gaming a lot. I still do think he's kind of a bad staff member, but I felt in my video I made it seem like I thought he was a bad person, even though I don't and actually think he's pretty chill. So I DM'd him and we made up. I don't want to show our conversations because it's not really that important, but King Gaming made another comment on my video saying this. He basically says he has no hard feelings and talks about how we made up in DMs. I was also happy to hear he was trying to improve as a staff member. So we made up, and then I went into the SMP Earth Discord and saw this from a manager of SMP Earth. So I DM'd him and we basically talked about the video, and he went on to say he's going to take a closer look at the staff team and basically rejoined SMP Earth because he didn't like the direction it was heading. So another thing in the video that was wrong was the fact that I said Man of Rice was making a video. He was not making a video. I just assumed that because of what he DM'd me, where he said I'm also making an exposed thing. That was just a miscommunication, so you guys can ignore all that. So next thing I'm going to address is not a mistake, but needs to be addressed. So basically, after I posted the video, apparently SquireX and the Nation Patty got into a verbal conflict through the Discord, but before saying anything, SquireX DM'd me this. And she says, so just to let you know, the people pinging you in the United Nations are the Patty people. I only said I lied to piss them off because they're literally the asshole community members you're referring to. So then she says, see, they'll run their mouth that I lied on your video because these people are so toxic towards me. Look at me trying to start a civil conversation, and he just popped off. So basically, many of the Patty people were attacking her in the Discord and calling her a liar, and so she lied and said, sure, I lied, just so they would get off her back. And as soon as she said that, they started flooding my DMs. This is what one of them said to me. So one of them says, hi, can I talk to you? And I said, sup? And he's like, yeah, so I saw your latest video, and personally I didn't follow the whole mod drama, so I can't really talk about that. But there was this point in a video where you talked about SquireX with SquireX about Patty, which was an alliance I founded, and she kind of talked shit about us on your video. He goes on to say, just saying, she lied to you. We had no leader, we had no admins on our team. We only had Kira in the team for some time, but at the time she was just a mod and the admins didn't unclaim the chunk. So then he says, yeah, so keep in mind SquireX is really fucking toxic and a lot of people on the server don't like her, and she herself admits lying, even though she did not. She just said that to get them off their back. But yeah, he said some other stuff. Then I said, I'll be making a second part, which is this video, and he said, alright, cool. Then another person DM'd me with this. So they said, all we want is an acknowledgement that SquireX was spouting shit for a vid. I'm speaking for multiple people from the other side of the SquireX drama that we are willing to be interviewed because SquireX is a lying twat. So basically they claim here that Kira was never an admin or was a leader of Patty. I decided to ask people involved with the situation, starting with SquireX herself, and this is what she sent me. So she sends a screenshot of Kira basically claiming herself as the leader of Patty, and yeah, that's proof itself. They said she wasn't a leader, but she is. And as you can see, Kira calls herself the leader of Patty. Then I decided to ask Kira cites herself. This is what she said. So in this screenshot, she says, oh, the original claim block issue. Yes, that sparked a whole staff debate. I was in the debates. I was talking about what qualified as claim blocking. Some people were debating whether it was claim blocking or not. I had originally stated that anything that stopped expansion was claim blocking, and then it was brought up whether or not that man-made islands were not allowed according to one of the original rules. After reviewing, I decided the claim was not blocking anyone, but the plans of a man-made island violated that rule. The rule was later changed to allow man-made islands, and in the end we restored their claims and decided it was not claim blocking. If I remember correctly, that was really dividing and caused major reforms. A bunch of people got upset over it. First thing I can confirm about this, that is the lands were not given back and SquireX had to reclaim everything on her own. But next I asked an affiliated staff member if this was true, considering they had been there for everything, and they replied that what Kira is saying is true. Then I asked him if what SquireX said about Kira being an admin unclaiming the land was true, herself was true. Then they said yes, giving this statement. He basically said, we were unsure about claim blocking, then we thought it was, but it didn't do anything. Dan set the record straight that it wasn't, but Kira went ahead and unclaimed because she thought no artificial land was allowed. I disagreed. It was later straightened out that artificial land was okay due to broad community and staff support. So then I asked, so what you're saying is SquireX is correct? And they said yes, and we had just become admins. So basically, Kira did in fact unclaim Scrix's land. Kira was also leader of Patty, and Kira was an admin. But she didn't unclaim because it was claim blocking, but she thought artificial land wasn't allowed. Then it was later said that artificial land was allowed. Next is kind of a funny thing that happened. It wasn't really a mistake, it was just about the faction server. I didn't even mention there was an SMP Earth faction server. It shut down early due to a lack of players, and many people wanted that mentioned in a video. I honestly didn't see a problem with the server shutting down, as staff had reason to do it. Not many people were playing, and after it was shut down, most people migrated to the Townie server. I'm not going to make a whole history of the faction server considering I don't know much about it, but someone named Polybrow is, so I'll link their video in the description or comments once they upload their video. This leads me into another funny thing. After I posted the video, a bunch of World Police members, a faction on SMP Earth, on the SMP Earth faction server, DM'd me about the lack of representation in the video. So yeah, here you are, guys. You got me to write a whole paragraph on factions and World Police. Are you happy now? I also had many reports of World Police being toxic and maybe even DDoSing, but I cannot provide evidence other than many people's words, so take it as you may. For those who still don't understand, I'm saying I even don't know, so believe what you want to believe. From my experiences, most of them were chill, but then again, we didn't interact much with World Police, so who knows. Next, I decided to ask the ex-managers of SMP Earth. Both of them had seen my video, both Wacky and Kira sites. Kira wanted to do an interview, so I decided to get Wacky's thoughts on it too. I basically asked them 3 questions. 1. What were some problems you saw during your time as staff? 2. What do you think about the current state of SMP Earth? And 3. What else would you like to say or add? So this is what Kira said. Pause and read the whole thing if you want. So she said, for the first thing, the biggest problem she saw was miscommunication and aggressiveness. It seemed like no staff members could just understand each other or actually sit down and talk. There were so many misunderstandings between the entire claim blocking situation, plus plenty of offenses against multiple moderators and people just being all around cockstains. And then she said, 2. SMP Earth, as I've said since Josh stepped down, is dead. The player count may be okay and the Discord may be active, but it's not the SMP Earth we all fell in love with. Due to the incompetency, it's doomed to fail. I completely agree with that. And 3, I would like to say none of my previous statements fall on these members or any original members of staff of any original management team. Arcieki, King Gaming, Kieran, and Upiki. These have been the nicest people I have met and have been nothing but kind to me. Captain, Alex, and Rubala may be ex-staff, but they are also just as good in my book. Although RPS have had ups and downs, although I disagree with him, I still see him as a friend, even though he probably doesn't see me that way. I love everyone involved in SMP Earth, and my DMs are always open. Thank you. And this is what Wacky said. Again, if you want to read it, just, pause and read it. And so basically, some issues with the staff team that they said was the staff team was completely unorganized. In the separate staff Discord, it was only the server mods, server admins, and managers with no other Discord staff, which I had them come into it for more general communication. Many moderators were inactive. Yes, people made absences, but they were absent for freakishly long times. Dan barely answered my pings or DMs. That's it. He was horrible with communication. He gave me Discord, then asked for it back, which I gave it him it. He promising he'd give RPS and I an invite to a private Discord moderator group. Did he ever give that? No. Josh said he'd help with the transition, but didn't seem to care at all and supposedly barely answered RPS's DMs. She then says, to be honest, and you can quote me on this, I wish I didn't leave and I stayed, but now that I've seen what's left of it, at this point I don't know where it's gonna go. I think it has huge potential, but with that community, I'm not sure anymore. I really hope it succeeds, and it's nice to think I helped build the server what it is today. And this bit of what she said it bothered me, because so she wished she didn't stay, but she got bullied out of her position by the community. But she's like, no, I wish I stayed. But she got bullied by the community out of her position, and that really pisses me off. That just shows how bad this community is. So I honestly do hope the community gets better so nothing like this will ever happen again. But yeah, let's move on. So I just want to include those statements for anyone wondering what they thought of everything. Alright, and finally I just wanted to add a segment of the video discussing what I thought of everything. I'm gonna be honest, I still kinda stick with what I said in the video. Either improve the server or shut it down. Ever since Siphon's video on SMP Earth, the player count went up a bit, going from 20 players on average to around 50 to 70. But the thing is, boosts like that don't last long, but you can make the most of it. SMP Earth can either improve their staff and use that boost of players to expand and become larger, or not do anything and let the server die. Does this mean everything I said in my previous video doesn't stand? No. I still think a lot of staff have problems, even after discussing with the current staff who say there is some tension. The server still does have lag spikes and the community still is horrible, but the good thing is they are trying to improve. Whether they actually do or not is up to them. They've been putting forums for suggestions on how to improve staff and hired another dev, among some other things. My statements in my previous video still stand, about the server, staff, and community. Who knows, I may revisit SMP Earth one day and it will be completely changed, but as of now it hasn't got all that better, just promises of doing so. I would love to see it grow and expand with issues it had fixed in the future. Again, most people don't seem to realize the video I made was to help fix the server, not ruin it or paint it in a bad light. I was showing what happens on the server. People claim I made it look worse than it was, but how could I have done that? I showed what truly happened. But anyways, now I'm done with SMP Earth and its community and I feel it's time for me to move on. Thank you to all the amazing people I met. Feel free to talk to me if you want. My DMs are open, and yeah guys, if you like this video, please comment, like, and subscribe. And this is SpiritFire Gaming, signing out.